chapter 4, like I said yesterday, where we talk about networking. Networking, as you know, is going to be very, very critical, like we said yesterday. I don't know if you know this statistic or not, but just to bring it home even more, look at the percentage of job seekers that find their connections through networking. That's a high percentage. 70% of people find their jobs through networking. So that also means what? That same number of jobs are filled through networking, through people that know someone that knows someone. Of the positions that are not done through networking, right? 87% of those jobs are promoted via recruiters on LinkedIn. Ms. Taylor, are you telling me either I need to know somebody or I need to promote myself on LinkedIn? Yes. Does that mean you can't find a job? Absolutely not. Maybe you do know someone, right? Maybe you found something on Indeed.com, right? There's no fast and hard rule, but why even put yourself at that disadvantage? Does that make sense? Don't even put yourself at that disadvantage. You want to have access to everything that's available, right? And you want to be able to decide whether you want to go after it or not. So make sure that you're putting yourself in the right spaces, putting yourself in the room to be able to know what's out there is very, very important. So we talked about those ATS systems. Before you even get looked at, what's happening? Recruiters are using ATS systems to make sure that you are even qualified. So we know we have to use those ATS systems. We know we have to keep those keywords in our resumes. We discussed that last week. So in between reading those job descriptions, making sure you're on LinkedIn and Indeed and any other job board of your choosing, and making sure you're just talking to people in your environment, in your industry. It doesn't require you. I think some people think of networking like, old school used car salesman, or, they used to call them the shoe salesman, insurance sales guys, where you are, a little bit cheesy, a little bit, off-putting. Networking doesn't require all of that. You can network right in your class. You're just talking to people, getting to know people, finding common interests in people. The way I network is very conversational. Anywhere I go, I just have a conversation with people. It's my intent is to just to truly get to know them. It's not necessarily just to network. Like, I want to know who my colleagues are. I want to know who's in the room. So I do it naturally. And then you are going to, gravitate towards people that you have interest in. And, 9 times out of 10, you are going to find someone that you have a common interest in. And then you just stay in touch. It's really that simple. Chapter 5 talks about a lot of different places you can do that to make that happen. Whether it's, back in the day, they used to use Eventbrite, where they'll host these events in your area. I'm really big on, knowing what your local SBA, Small Business Administration, is doing. They put on these different types of events and they'll send it to you via email, via Eventbrite, using your current network. Recruiters, any type of professional associations, if you, certifications, whatever you want to be a part of, OSHA, whatever, do it. Conferences, LinkedIn has a lot of networking events, guys, a lot. Once you start connecting with people, they'll say, oh, I'm having this event, and it's online, right? You just have to log in and be a part of it. And, there you go. Job fairs are a great place to network. Even if you don't get a job at the fair, it's, you can learn and hear about things. You got to put yourself in the room. obviously alumni associations, you guys see it. This is so important to be a part of the what's in, right? We all know how this works in school, right? What happened in school when you weren't part of the crowd? You get left out. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's what. Anybody like that? Now, see, I know I was out on purpose because I didn't really like people, but so I don't know if that counts. But you know, you guys know what I mean. But let me tell you, I actually learned the hard way about that. I learned the hard way about that. I have always been an introvert. I've always preferred smaller crowds. I don't do concerts. I like jazz clubs. Anybody else like that? I just prefer small quantities of people. I can't take a large group of people at once. That's my personality. But it came back to bite me when I was in the military. I just didn't talk to a lot of people. And I got my feelings hurt, and I'm going to leave it at that because I didn't know what was on the streets. I didn't know what the streets were saying, and somebody had to pull my coattail, like, "Oh, you might want to stay away from that person because this, and that." And I was so embarrassed, but it taught me a valuable lesson. Sometimes it's good to know people, even if you have that type of personality, right? So I know it's not a professional example. It kind of is, but I've learned very quickly. I was like, let me get out of my shell. It was a true Grease moment. Has anyone ever seen the movie Grease? When Olivia Newton-John was just that little country bumpkin and she didn't know anything and she wasn't around the cool kids, that was me. And I had to learn, you don't have to hang out with the cool kids, but you need to know what the streets are saying. You're going to get yourself in trouble, little girl. That was me. And I had to learn. Yeah, I learned my lesson. So anyway, it's important to know what is at least happening, even if that is, not necessarily your personality, right? So again, what is networking? It's just talking to people and establishing relationships. It's a little different from your social network because this is your professional network. The great thing about professional networks, you are not required to tell your business, so to speak. Most times people don't even want to know your business. They just want to talk about business, right? Because why are people connecting? They're connecting because they're trying to, push their career forward. They want to know how you can be a part of that, whether it's through a job connect, a business connect, knowing if there's a major contract coming down the pike, what's happening in your industry. There's so much information that you can learn from, you can gather if you just network, right? So building that professional network is going to be important. That is one of the reasons why we wanted you guys to do your informational interviewing. What is informational interviewing? Well, it has to do with you just talking to people, building your network. We asked you in this class to find one person to talk to, just to go tell the person your career goals, get their feedback on management and leadership and how they feel that, it can be beneficial to you, and hear what they have to say. How many people learned something from that conversation that you've had? Hopefully you've had it by now. People love to talk. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is one thing people will love to do is just talk. There is never, right? There is no one if you just say, hey, I just want to get your thoughts on this, man, they'll keep going and keep going, right? People love to tell you what they think about things. So informational interviewing is a great way. A lot of people use it on LinkedIn as well. When you're trying to reach out to people and you're like, okay, how do I build this network with these strangers, right? Sometimes you can just ping someone, it's like going into their DM, if you will, but you're asking them a legitimate question. People like that because people feel like, oh, okay, I like sharing information, person doesn't really want anything from me, but they just want me to, talk to them about A, B, C, or D. And you'd be surprised. People really like it. The person values my opinion. And that's how you build your network. And next thing you know, they could even be asking you, hey, well, I have this event coming up online. You should join. And next thing you know, you have a friend a network person that you're connected to that could be very influential. So many people meet very influential people online using that informational interviewing technique. So when it comes to professional networking, very similar to a real, social relationship, it needs to go both ways. One way to stay connected to your network, if you're online, especially if you really don't know them that well, or even let's say you connect with the people in this class. If Andrea is posting on LinkedIn and she says she just got a new job, go ahead and give her a thumbs up. Go ahead and say congratulations. Maybe even ask her about the job. Stay connected. Don't just reach out to Andrea when you want something, because Andrea's going to be like, what about that event I posted 2 weeks ago? What about, okay, what about, I got promoted. You didn't even say congratulations. Now you're hitting me up when you want something. You don't want that drama, right? So you want it to go both ways. So you want to stay connected. All it takes is a quick little thumbs up. Andrea is in agreement. It takes a quick little thumbs up, a quick little congratulations. I do it all the time. It's not going to hurt you, just to let the person know that you are paying attention to what they're doing, right? Some people need that more than others, but that's how you stay connected. Again, most connections happen in school. They start at the pre-career stage. You guys are at the pre-career stage. Almost every major company you can think of started in college. Meta, Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft. They all started in college or right after college with their buddies. You don't know where somebody in here may own their own business. Somebody in here is definitely going to be in charge of somebody else's business. You may want to stay connected. I'm just telling you, take it for someone that has seen it happen over and over again. Yes, your network will evolve, right? You're not going to have the same people in your network. You may move to Texas, and you may even go into a different industry. So your network will evolve, but it's important just to keep it active. And even if your network evolves, still stay in touch with people. Still make sure you give them a thumbs up and interact with them if they're posting, because you never know when you have to circle the block, right? Face-to-face networking is always going to be the most effective because you are dealing with people one-on-one. For a minute, when COVID happened, we had gotten away from that. People are back out in the streets. So they're doing the face-to-face networking. Again, it's important for you to stay connected as much as possible. Obviously make sure that you have all your contact information when you go out to these conferences and stuff. People, don't ask people to put their number in your phone. That's not proper etiquette. We'll talk about that in a minute. When you're out doing business networking, you still need to have business cards. That's the one old school system that we do have. Nowadays, some people are still saying, oh, you can find me on the gram or something like that. But, make sure if you're doing that you are giving them your business account, not your personal, right? Make sure if you are going out and you're going to be meeting people that you don't know, that you know what you want to talk about. Let's say you're going to a conference and you know that this company is going to be at the conference. Maybe they're the keynote speaker and you want to get into that company, but you have a couple of questions. Maybe it's about a new project they got. Maybe it's about they're moving to a new town and you just want to know more about it. Know what you want to ask, because remember, after you go up to someone and give them your little sales pitch or your elevator pitch, you want to have something to say to begin that conversation, right? That's how you start it. So when you are networking, there is etiquette. Obviously, you want to have good manners. You don't want to spend too much time talking to someone. If you're at a conference, clearly they're there to network just like you. So you just want to be mindful of that, picking up on social cues and making sure that you're not hogging people's time is very, very important. Also making sure, the way you dress, don't be late. Nothing is more embarrassing, unless, you have another meeting or something like that, then going to a conference, the conference is already started. Now here you come, bumping into everybody with your book bag and your briefcase. You don't want that drama, right? So don't be late, none of that kind of stuff, right? Make sure you're not always on your cell phone, keep it on silent, turned upside down, so you're not always staring at the face of your cell phone. Those are just little things that you may not pick up on as proper, but other people will. Like, people do judge you based upon whether you have proper etiquette or not. Just like when you go out to a fancy restaurant, you picking up any fork, you don't know whether to you grab the glass to the left or to the right. You don't know how to fold your napkin. You don't know how to enter. You don't know how to sit. Like, people pick up on that. So you may not know, but other people will know that you don't know. And you don't want people to judge you based upon that. So you need to understand the proper etiquette. I can't tell you the number of times I've been at meetings and people have their cell phones on, up, or they're looking at their cell phone, and it is considered rude to do that, and so it's just proper etiquette. It's important for you to learn those things, right? Obviously, if you are meeting someone, eye contact is very important. That is a Western protocol. I've traveled around, I've lived in Africa, I've lived in Asia, and I'm telling you, the eye contact thing is very much so a Western thing. A lot of the cultures, staring people down in the eye, especially when you're talking to them, some people think it a form of disrespect. You'd be surprised by that, right? So, but in America, my friends, you need to look people in the eye, because if you don't look people in the eye in America, they think what? They think you're being dishonest. A lot of people don't know that. Americans, we're very aggressive type people, right? We want firm handshakes. We want you to look at us in the eye, and we want you to speak loudly, which is also something else that, other cultures, find as, a form of disrespect, speaking too loudly, staring people in the eye, being aggressive with your handshakes. All of those are very Western things, right? So just something that to be mindful of, especially like if you have to travel. But clearly you'll learn those things along the way. Now, are there even proper ways to network online? Of course, it outside of LinkedIn, even how you engage online. Like I told you guys before, if you're going to be using Twitter and all that type of stuff, that you need to be mindful of what you're saying on Twitter, right? There's online etiquette as well. Don't post negative comments, not just because someone can find them, but it's just not proper. And sometimes it will come back to bite you in the you know what. Like, you don't even know who you're talking to. You don't know 6 degrees of separation. You could be arguing with someone, but they could be the cousin of the sister of the auntie of the boss that you're going to at a company. You just never know, right? So curb your enthusiasm to do that type of stuff. Now that you are a professional, you have to perform like a professional, right? Obviously, we talked about our email accounts, and we also talked about privacy and just being careful. Obviously, you don't want to engage with every person, not just because, like I just stated, you don't know them, but there is a certain amount of danger in that as well. So you just have to be prudent. So what do we want you guys to do? We want you to create your LinkedIn account. We want you to create a LinkedIn account. What do we want you to create? We want you to have a profile. Did I go over with you guys? I don't think I went over with you guys. I went over with my night class how to use LinkedIn. Has everybody been on LinkedIn? Does anybody need me to show them? Does everybody know what I'm talking about with LinkedIn? Does anybody have a LinkedIn account? So Samantha has 1, 2. So Rudell, okay, you got 1, 3. Isaac, Rudell, Francisco, do you guys have LinkedIn accounts?
No, I do not.
Okay, so you're going to be setting up your LinkedIn account. I believe there should be a how-to in that account, in that assignment. If you have a LinkedIn account, yours is going to be very easy. All you have to do is take your URL and post it in the account, in the assignment. I'm going to share my screen really quickly, just so I can show you guys what I mean by that. But and then I'll talk really briefly about setting up a LinkedIn account. Even if you just want to set up a fake account, let's say you just want to use like your school email, put it up there. We just want to know that you know how to do it, and then you can take it off. But I strongly encourage you to keep it, you know. But let me share with you really quickly. So I'm on LinkedIn now, and this is my landing page, right? When you set up your account, this is like your your profile page, right? So your landing page is always going to be like your news feed. But when you first set it up, I'm going to go to my profile page. And this is where I go to set up everything. Now, if you already have an account, once you hit your profile page, if you look up here in the URL bar, you see how it says linkedin.com Cynthia Taylor. This is your URL. All you have to do is copy that. So I just highlighted it. You copy it, and then you paste it into the assignment, and you're done. And then I can just click on it and see you have an account. For those of you that don't have an account, once you log into LinkedIn, set up your profile, just say, here's my email address. They ask you some basic questions, and then it's going to take you to this profile page. Well, you'll have to fill out these sections. The first section is about you. It'll ask you if you want to add a picture, and then it'll say your tagline. So if you remember when we talked about, taglines and using your resume with your qualifications and profile section, this will be very helpful. Most people put, your any type of degrees you have or what you specialize in. And then because I do consulting, I put that. Now I didn't put teaching because I just don't promote my teaching work here on LinkedIn because I've been doing it for so long. But I do promote the technical work that I do. But then after you put in your photo, your little tagline, whatever you want to say about yourself, the next section that I want you to focus on is your about section. Literally, if you have a resume, you can take that profile that your career services helped you to do, and you just hit this little edit, and you can copy and paste it right there. And then the next section is the experience. And this is where you're literally going to take your resume and just copy and paste it. You'll hit plus if you haven't done it, and just put in the different sections. It's very easy because as soon as you hit plus, it'll say add a position, and then it'll ask you, what are the different, what's the title, what's the company, how long did you work there, and then whatever, just cut and paste what you have in your resume. So it's a very simple process. If you've ever done any type of online, profile, that's what it looks like. All right. So for those of you that have one, just grab that URL. For those of you that fill yours out, you do it, grab that URL and put it in the assignment. Do we have any questions on that? Go ahead.
This is a random question, but can we follow you on LinkedIn?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. So I used to actually ask all you guys to follow me, not for my purposes, but because I have hundreds of students that I teach, and they follow me. So, I have like maybe 1,200 connections or so and going. So yeah, definitely follow me. And if you go to, because you can always, whoever you follow, you can go to their network. Like there's my network, right? And this is business, right? So you can look and see, and you can say, oh, Miss Taylor has 1,200 connections. Let me see who she's, you see people are already asking to connect. And you can go, you can see where they've worked. And I guarantee you, if you scroll down enough, you're going to start to see Southern Tech, Southern Tech, Southern Tech, right? And you may see someone that works somewhere that you want to work. And you could be like, Miss Taylor, could you connect me with Carlos? There he is right there. Y'all see him? Southern Tech, look at that. We connected in 2023. Southern Tech 2023. Y'all see them, right? Absolutely. I would love to connect with you guys. And if you need anything, just hit me up. All right. So let me stop sharing that. Go back. All right. So here's your participation question for today. I want to know, if I made you an offer, would the reputation of the company influence your decision of whether you would work there or not? In other words, their ethics, would that determine how you would even, where you would work, or whether you would even apply to work? Some people, for example, have a certain feeling about working for the government right now. For obvious reasons, right? Some people have my own issues. I was a consultant for the government, worked for Deloitte. Anybody ever heard of them? And the new administration canceled all the contracts. Can you imagine? Hurt a lot of people. Lucky for me, I do other things, but a lot of people lost their jobs. Some people lost their homes. I don't think they don't talk about it enough, right? It's one thing to know your company's going out of business. It's another thing to be blindsided. We all agree with that. I don't care if it's government or not. Like, don't blindside me. Let me know. It's one thing for me to know, okay, you're doing horribly, you're going to get fired. It's a whole other thing to be like, oh, okay, new CEO in town, you just lost your job. So, people ask me, well, would you go back and work for the government? I'm like, no, not right now. Absolutely not. Based on principle, I would not. Like, I can't work somewhere I don't trust. I don't trust it. Right? Would anybody be in a relationship if you didn't trust it, even if it's a work relationship? No. So my answer is no, right? So maybe you have a similar situation, or that is the premise of this question. So does the company make a decision? Do their ethics determine where you do or where you don't apply? That's your question for today. All right, my friends, thank you so much for your time. If you don't have any other questions for me, you are free to go. Please remember, if you need anything from me, ask so that I can open it so that you can get it in. Again, on Friday, your final and week 4 will be open. So you're free to start as soon as you want. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.